Throughout his life, Robert Jackson was very close to his family here, especially to his mother, his sister Helen, and later to his favorite and only nephew, Harold Jackson Adams. I remember many holiday celebrations at the Jackson home on Fairmount Avenue in Jamestown. I remember going horseback riding with him, cruising on his boat, the Alibi, going on picnics, driving around the countryside in his Buick convertible, and climbing Jackson Hill with him. In my senior year at Frewsburg High, Principal Leland Sanborn asked if I would write and invite Justice Jackson to speak at our commencement in June. On April 16, 1945, I received this note from him. Dear Harold, I have your letter, and if ever I had any reluctance about coming to Frewsburg High School to make a speech, you have melted it. I would like to come and will try to do so, but I cannot give you an ironclad guarantee just now. Subject to the hazards of the time and the demands of my office, I shall accept the invitation. But on the 3rd of May, he wrote again. Dear Harold, you have probably seen the announcement of the President that he has asked me to undertake the trial of war criminals. It is a big job, and a good deal of it will have to be done in Europe. The chances are that I will not be here by the 26th of June. I shall have to cancel the promise I made to you because, much as I want to obey your orders, I have had orders from just a little higher source. When he went to Europe, and particularly to London, to make arrangements, for the war crimes trial, he took with him his secretary, who was from Frewsburg, New York. Her name was Ruth Sternberg. Ruth was the daughter of Florence and Ralph Sternberg. Ralph, I believe, was the chauffeur for Miss Lydia Myers. And the Sternberg home was on Falconer Street, adjacent to the Myers residence. In 1946, when the war crimes trial at Nuremberg was coming to a conclusion, I was in the Army, stationed near Munich. On the day before the verdicts and sentences were pronounced, Chief Prosecutor Robert Jackson sent his personal bodyguard with orders for me to report to him in Nuremberg so that I would be there for that dramatic and historic occasion. After being discharged from the Army, I became a journalism student at Rider College in Trenton, New Jersey. From that institution, I received a B.S. degree, a degree which everyone felt was especially appropriate. During my years at Rider, I was often invited to spend a weekend with my aunt and uncle. One of my fondest memories of that is that of the justice taking me to lunch at the National Press Club. I remember meeting some of the most prominent newsmen of the day, and I remember having oysters in the half shell for the first time in my life. At that time, Justice and Mrs. Jackson lived in McLean, Virginia, in a wonderful old place called Hickory Hill. For a time during the Civil War, Hickory Hill served as headquarters for General McClellan. This house was surrounded by about 6 acres of lawn, and there was a small barn and paddock for the justice's horse. Years later, after the justice had died, Mrs. Jackson sold the place to a young senator and his wife, John and Jacqueline Kennedy. After living there for a short time, they in turn sold the place to Robert and Ethel Kennedy. On the afternoon of June 27th, 1952, Mariana Gerhardt was about to become Mrs. Harold Adams. The annual Fireman's Carnival was in full swing, and traffic in Frewsburg was quite a mess. Attempting to steer drivers in the right direction, a Town of Carroll police officer was at the Main and Water Street intersection. When Justice and Mrs. Jackson reached that intersection, the officer asked, "Are you going to the carnival or the wedding?" "Well," replied the justice, "maybe both, but I guess we'd better go to the wedding first." Obviously, a sense of humor and ready wit were two of Robert Jackson's most appealing qualities. It has been said of him that his charm of personality, his engaging humor, his conversational and anecdotal gifts, and his frank and forthright manner of expression endeared him to all. On October 9, 1954, Justice Jackson died in Washington, D.C. His funeral at St. Luke's Episcopal Church in Jamestown was attended by all 8 of his fellow justices. That Robert Howard Jackson chose to be buried here in Maple Grove Cemetery is clear evidence that he always considers his roots to be in Frewsburg, New York.
You realize the importance or the historical nature of that last day at Nuremberg?
No, I did not. It was exciting, it was dramatic, it was big news at the time. But I did not, and I think many people did not realize the tremendous impact that that trial had on international law and indeed civilization. So, yes.
When you're looking out there and you see Hermann Goering and Rudolf Hess, what's your reaction to them?
Well,
those are the big names.
Yeah, right. It was, they were celebrities of the day, and yeah. It was interesting, of course. Goering knew darn well that he was going to cheat the hangman, and so. And I think my uncle was somewhat inclined to think that the trial was not as successful as he would like to have seen it, because there were a couple of acquittals. But historically, I think maybe that's not a bad thing, because it clearly shows that it was not a kangaroo court, that justice was done.